All right, Alana, you're live.
Oh, cool. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Let me see if I can see everyone here. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm Alana, and it's nice to have you all here with me. I'm a certified nutritionist. I have been teaching healthy eating classes for well over 30 years. And I am so happy to be doing this with one of my very favorite companies, Pure Indian Foods. I've known Sandeep for about 20 years, and I just love the company and I love the purity and quality of the food. So this is a real pleasure for me. We're going to be talking about kitchery and cooking it, and also a rice dish. So I'm a very informal speaker and teacher. I like interactive classes. As I go along, I might disappear for a second when I put something in the kitchen. I'm going to actually turn my camera down in a minute so you can see my workspace. And when I make the jira rice that we're going to enjoy, I'm going to actually take you with me over to the stovetop so you can actually see what I'm working on there. And as I go along, by the way, I'll stop periodically to ask if you have any questions. So you can always put your questions in the chat box, and Courtney is going to monitor that. So you can do that, or you can feel free to unmute and ask me. And then when we get to the end of the class today, we will unmute at that point, or you can continue to be muted, but we'll have questions and answers there as well as we go along. So, okay, it's about 74 degrees or so outside. It's a sunny day. It's a nice day to be teaching you. And let's get started, okay? So you should all have a 5-page handout. If not, I'm going to get started anyway. So I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with kitchery, but it is really India's most amazing, beloved, healing, nurturing, wonderful, blissful food. And I say that having experienced it myself because I lived in India for a year. And while I do speak a few words of Hindi, please don't ask me to, because I might make a fool out of myself here. But it was a fantastic year for me. And the food, I learned so much about Ayurveda, about the food and healing, and about how different it is that different cultures see food so differently than the way that we see it here in the West. Now, not only did I live in India for a year, but I grew up in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. So I had a lot of Asian influence, a lot of, interest in Chinese medicine. And I grew up primarily on a Japanese diet. And I could safely say by the time I became a nutritionist that it was living in India and growing up in Hawaii that kept drawing me back into this area, because food is seen not as calories, protein, fats, and fiber, like we tend to see it here, not so much like that, but it is seen energetically. And that is huge, because there is the understanding that everything is energy, not just, of course, Einstein let us know that, right? But they knew it prior to Einstein's birth for thousands of years. And Ayurveda, the ancient system of healing in India, certainly espouses that and that understanding and knowing. And so we're going to touch a little bit more on that. So why is kitchery so important? So for one, it's a really simple yet profoundly healing food. It's based primarily on split Moong Dal. It's the yellow Moong Dal, and I'm going to show you right here. This is actually, you can see it's yellow split Moong Dal kitchery right here, and it's made with basmati rice. So that's the original basic way. So it's made with this yellow Moong split dal and basmati rice, and it's cooked to the point where it's like porridge, or literally mushy and very, very smashable. It's got different ingredients added to it, but there are just a few basics that are part of the standard kitchery recipe, and that's turmeric. which is a wonderful golden spice, which is very healing and anti-inflammatory for the body. And it's also got some salt added to it. And then you can add to it a little bit of something called hing, which is, I'm going to talk about that too in a minute. Hing, which is a wonderful, it's asafoetida. It has a very pungent smell, off-putting, but when it cooks, it mellows out amazingly and can replace pungent foods like onion and garlic in a very mellow and delicious way. But primarily it's water, the kitchery, the turmeric, and the salt. And that's really all you need to get started if you've never done it before, okay? And then you can also add ghee, because to have kitchery without ghee is pretty much a crime in India. You never eat it without ghee, because ghee is the ingredient that carries the nourishing qualities into the tissues in the body, according to Ayurveda. Okay, so there are many different variations. One variation, which is also popular, is the green Moong Dal kitchery, like you can see right here. This particular kitchery is actually the exact same as what I just showed you, only it's made with the green Moong Dal, right? So the difference is the yellow just has the green skins removed, so it becomes the most easy to digest, okay? And we can talk about that too in a little while. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. I'm going to make my kitchery for you in my Instant Pot. I just want to point out that in Ayurveda, kitchery is used as a detox, okay? It's because when you follow a mono diet, which is what a kitchery cleanse usually is, and people undertake this cleanse a lot, you eat one food, and that kitchery, which is repeated over a period of anywhere from one day really to even a week, it begins to allow toxins to be purified from the body. It is healing for the body. Practitioners of yoga, Ayurvedic doctors, people in India take kitchery as just an evening meal or a simple lunch. It's very, very healing. It's usually a fast or a cleanse is usually done at the beginning of the seasons, particularly in the spring when the liver naturally begins its own detox, but also in the autumn. And some people will do it at the beginning of every single change of seasons, right? Every single new season. And some people like to do it once a week, you know? So it's really up to you how you do this, but it's just a fantastic way to eat for curing any kind of lack of energy or need to detox and so many other things. So, okay, anybody have any questions about anything before I move on and show you our basic recipe? Then we're gonna come back and talk more about the benefits and the doshas. So anybody, any questions about anything so far?
And if you guys have questions, remember you can just unmute and share your video, or you don't have to share video, but just feel free to pop in.
Yeah, you can also raise your hand. Courtney's going to monitor everything. Okay. All right, so
I have a question.
yeah, please. Yes.
Hi, Alana. I have a couple of questions. Assuming that you have no digestive issues with the green Moong Dal, is it more nutritious than the yellow Moong Dal, or are they the same? And
Actually,
also the second question is that is Moong Dal more nutritious and healthy than Turdal? And if so, why?
right. Okay. So in answer to your first question is that in terms of nutrition, the green Moong Dal actually has the fibrous skin on it, which is a prebiotic food. So it does create it can create a little more gas for people who are very, sensitive. But nutritionally, if you have no issues, then it is a very good one to eat. And I would probably say go more for that, the green Moong Dal, okay? Because the green Moong Dal contains something called oligosaccharides, both of them do, but this is the fibrous one. And the fiber that the skins, whether it's the skins of the Moong Dal or the skin of any dal that you eat, is going to be the food for the bacteria that live in your gut that form your immune system. However, remember, kitchery is a healing food, right? So it is actually intended to be soothing. And in that case, the original one is ideal. So does that kind of make sense there? And in terms of Turdal, the Turdal is actually also excellent. Both of those would be fine. There's not that much difference. Really, the difference comes, I believe, that with the yellow, the tiny little yellow, that one of all of the dal is the most easiest to digest, and even becomes more so if it's soaked ahead of time. But it will actually literally blend into the food when it's cooked, and it is easier. So again, just bear in mind the intention for kitchery is for cleansing, right? But if you have no problems, I would do this with a variety of dal, and you can always go back to the original when you want to. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
So welcome. Anybody else before we start here? Okay, all right, so I'm going to actually angle my camera down here so you can see my workspace. There you go. And you guys just yell at me if you can't see good enough, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to prepare this in the Instant Pot. So I have an Instant Pot here, and I can see too. So there you go, right? You can see that. It's my little Instant Pot. And what we're going to do, I'm going to start out with rice, water, and ghee. So I've washed very well. Very important to wash the kitchery very, very well till the water runs clear. And this was driven home to me growing up in Hawaii. And I learned to cook Japanese food from my best friend in high school, her grandmother. She would make rice. It's very common to make rice every day with every meal in Japan. And the water has to be cleaned completely. And the same thing goes with the basmati rice. You really want to wash the starch and any impurities out of it. Okay, so I've put that in there. Now I'm just going to add to this 3.5 cups of water. Okay, so we've got 1 cup of the kitchery mix that's well washed and rinsed. And we've got 3.5 cups of water. Now that seems like a lot, but remember, what we want is a kitchery that's going to be really, really smooth and mushy. Okay. All right. Now to this, I'm going to add about a tablespoonful of ghee. Now I'm using just the plain ghee. Okay. But remember, kitchery is that healing, wonderful food. Okay. So sometimes you may want to, and this will depend on your doctor if you're working with a practitioner, you may want to use instead an herbal ghee. Now this, I've got my spices ready. You can see that. This is turmeric, a pinch of hing, which I'll show you in a moment, and some Himalayan pink salt. So I'm just going to put that in there. Good. Get that stirred up. Okay. Sometimes that thing sings. Get that all stirred up in there. All right. And now I'm going to put my lid on this, and I'm going to pressure cook this. Okay. And I'm going to pressure cook it for 20 minutes. So I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put this on 20 minutes. And let it go. All right, now I'm going to move it to the back here, and I'm going to show you some things. Okay, there we go. So that's going to build up pressure. It's on now, okay? And it is going to cook, and then I'm going to let this, I'm going to come back so you can see me. Hi again. So there you go. Okay, can you see me okay? All right, so we're going to let this do its own natural release, and that's exactly what we want, is a natural release, because we want it to just continue to sit and kind of be really, well soaked. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So I prepared in advance the green kitchery. So I'm going to get it and show you what that looks like. And you'll see here, so I'm going to turn it down again. All right, there you go. Make sure you can see. Can you see that? It's got this nice golden color. It's mushy. You can smash it all together. And this is exactly what you want, just like this. And you're going to serve this in a bowl and put some wonderful toppings on it. This has ghee in it and turmeric and salt and a little bit of the hing in there. Just a pinch of hing is all you need. And that is it. All right, I'm going to put this back over here. Put the lid on that. Rinse this really quickly. There we go. All right. Come back to you here. So let me show you something. So I have found a way to keep hing because it has a very strong smell. And I can remember at times neighbors coming into my house and walking right back out. So it's something that I treasure in my kitchen and I use it when I cook. I just keep it in a glass jar wrapped in a little bit of aluminum. And Courtney, if you have a better way to do this, you tell me this. But then I pull it out and it's the best hing ever. And it's amazing. It's so good. It's like from the smell of it, you never know how it just mellows when it cooks. It's hard to describe the flavor, but it just adds this wonderful, I don't know, like flavor, like I just can only describe it as a little bit like cooked onion, you know, or
Kind of garlicky.
a little, yeah, it is. Then it's wonderful. But if I keep it like this, then nobody can smell it. I used to just keep it out in the pantry, but when you'd walk into the house, you would smell the hing, which, I mean, it doesn't really bother me so much, but it can get to other people. It's very, 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 shall I say, fragrant.
It's pretty fragrant. You know what I've noticed, Alana? I've never done the tinfoil trick.
Yeah.
But if you're not opening it that often, the smell isn't really permeating very much if it's in the pantry, because I keep mine like on a shelf in the pantry and it's not like overpowering everything. Although I have noticed that if I don't close the lid very much, if I don't really tighten it, that smell will kind of permeate to the spices around it because it's pretty pungent.
It is, and that's why I ended up figuring out to do it this way, because when I would open my pantry, I would just smell hing, and so would everybody else in my kitchen.
Alana, we have a few questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Linda asks, if you soak the kitchery, do you cook it for fewer than 20 minutes?
You know, it will typically cook even faster. So you can cook it for 20 to 30 minutes. I find that I would like to have it cook again to the point where it's mushy. So a lot of this is trial and error, but yes, soaking can make it even more digestible. And at the same time, it can shorten the cooking time. So why don't you try it maybe for 5 minutes less, you know, and if there's any liquid left over, which sometimes there is, leave the lid on it and let it just sit there and absorb the rest. That's ideal. And then mash it up together before you serve it. That's a great question. Do one thing though, do remember that when you soak it, if you soak it first, do discard that soaking water and then add fresh water when you cook it. I think that's really important. And again, you know, I have to reiterate the what I learned so much in India was the texture of kitchery, which is kind of not the way things are usually done in the West, but it really is mushy. And in fact, Sandeep has talked about the owner of our company, when he was a little boy, his mother would just take a spoon and just really mash that kitchery up before she served it, like mash it up against the pan, you know, and get it really, really porridge-like. And that's the way you do it. It's fantastic. Okay, good. So I showed you these different kitcheries now. So let's go back here and talk about some of the benefits of kitchery, okay? So
Alana.
Again, of course, yeah, anybody questions?
We got a few more questions and then we'll go back to the benefits of kitchery.
Absolutely.
So Gigi asks how to cook it without an instant cooker.
Just exactly the way I cooked my green one, right on the stovetop. And follow the recipe on the back. there's 3 different ways of cooking on the back of the package, and it's so easy, literally stovetop, pressure cooker, or rice cooker. So I will often just make kitchery for one, and I'll just do it right on the stovetop. So easy.
I want to
So-
add that cooking on the stovetop just requires a slightly different amount of water and cook time, but the instructions will be on the package. And then I've got one more question for you, Alana. Susan asks, is the green Moong Dal split as well or whole?
The green Moong Dal is,
Can you show it?
yeah,
It is split.
it is split. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can get it out to show them what it looks like here. Yeah. I think maybe you can see it like this now. Hang on. It's split, but hang on. There you go. Can you, is that visible to you all?
We can see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I always buy it
Split.
whole. That's interesting. I didn't even know you could buy it split.
They're split. You can actually see that they're actually split too.
Hmm.
Yeah. There you go. So it's split with the skin, right? So again, the skin provides some fiber there for you, which is, you'll still have fiber with the other. Now, on the package instructions will tell you just 1 cup of kitchery to 3.5 cups of water, regardless of whatever way you cook it. I've been successful with both ways. Courtney, do you think it's better if they use less water in the pressure cooker, or I'm sorry, on the stovetop?
The cook time is longer on the stovetop, so you need a little bit more water.
You're talking about, okay, stovetop, yeah, 30 minutes or so.
Mhm.
And then the rice cooker and the pressure cooker, for 20 minutes. So, I mean, yeah, again, trial and error, but I think it's always turned out perfect for me. And again, if there's any liquid left after 30 minutes, I just stir it and it all comes together,
Kitchery is pretty forgiving, right? Like if you
It is very forgiving, yes.
have it being very dry, you just add more water and cook it a little bit longer. If it's too wet, you just cook it a little longer and stir it together. It
Very true.
can't really go wrong because you just want it to be mushy.
You do, exactly. So, any other questions?
Yeah, Alana, I had a question.
Sure.
The kitchery mix that the Pure Indian Food sells, there
Yep.
the size of the moong dal the split moong dal is really tiny. Whereas if you buy the moong dal in the 2-pound bag separately, they are like bigger split
Much bigger.
yellow moong dal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is by design, or is it like a special variety of the yellow moong dal that makes it so tiny? Or do they, cut it down? Or why are the seeds so small? Why are the...
So you're talking about the yellow moong dal right now, right?
Yes, yeah.
The yellow moong dal, when it's split, should be the tiny moong dal. That should be it.
Yeah.
And you purchase those.
I'm comparing the split moong dal size in the kitchery mix to the split moong dal that you buy separately in a bag.
Oh, wow.
Those
I see what you're saying.
those ones are much bigger, and in the kitchery mix it's tinier. So I'm
Right.
wondering if it's by design.
I think that it is. Now, I know exactly what you're talking about. Now I have a vision of the yellow split dal at a store that I often shop at. And also I have purchased the tiny ones just on their own too. In fact, I have them. Let me grab them out of the pantry. I'll show you what I have. And we'll show you. Hang on. Yeah, here it is. So I purchased these just plain from Pure Indian Foods. Let me show you what these look like. So this is just the yellow split dal, and it's actually exactly what is mixed with the kitchery here. So can you see? Tiny, very tiny. But you're talking about the bigger one, aren't you?
Yeah.
I know, because
I
I've
wa-
too. Yeah, so I don't know. I believe it must be by design, yes. And I don't, I honestly don't know that. Do you know, Courtney, if that is by design? It must be.
It is by design. I mean, when we're taking a batch of the dal, it's sorted by size through different mesh, just the same as like black pepper is sorted by size through different mesh.
Yeah.
It's just for uniformity, and then those are used for different purposes. So the whole dal is used, they're a little bit bigger, and then the smaller is used in the kitchery. It's just a sorting process for uniformity. It's not really for different reasons.
Okay.
That makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Yeah.
I have a question or something. I buy split mung bean organically, and it's the same size.
Right, yeah, there's two different ones, and they say the same thing on the label, because I've done the same. I've bought the split green Moong Dal before, and it's been bigger as well, So I'm not really sure. I think it's actually by design, or it could be a difference in the bean, a difference in the variety. There are thousands and thousands of varieties of these things,
It's really just for uniformity. Like when we have a pepper harvest, on that same pepper vine, you'll have pepper berries of different sizes. It's the same with dal. You have the grain as a different size, or the legume as a different size. It's just uniformity in food processing.
Okay, so it's not that there are different variations, a different.
No, we have the same variation.
Okay, cool. All right, well, there you go. All right, thanks.
I have one more question, Alana. I know you're trying to move on. I'm so sorry, but I am glad that people are asking questions and have a lot of interest in this.
Good.
Joyce would like for you to differentiate Moong Dal from green split peas. Those are a different variety, but you can answer the question more detailed.
So differentiate Moong Dal from the green split?
Yes, because they look very similar when people see them at the store.
Well, the Moong Dal is the whole green, and it is a bigger pea or legume, and the split is smaller and sometimes or usually yellow, but not necessarily. So it usually has the skin removed, but not always. Are you talking about nutritional differences? Both contain oligosaccharides, both are legumes. Both are really good food for your gut microbiome and the bacteria that live in your gut. And in general, both of them will be cooked the same way. And I believe it's actually better to soak them if possible before cooking. Does that kind of answer your question? Courtney, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think she was asking what's the difference between the green Moong Dal and the split pea, but a split pea is
like the split pea. They're a different legume altogether. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So both are legumes. The green split pea is similar to the yellow split pea. And they're just a very different dal. So the green split pea is actually going to be a little bit more starchy and cook up a little bit more like almost like the inside of a potato will. And more starchy, I think. And if you soak them, you can soak them anywhere from 1 or 2 hours up to 24 hours. And again, just discard the soaking water. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think answering about the starchiness was different. I knew they were totally different. I just thought it would be an interesting thing to mention, because I know that's something people would get confused with, and it's nice to
confusing. There's
differentiate.
so many different legumes and varieties of legumes. It goes on and on.
Actually, I didn't know that the oligosaccharides were also in green peas. Are they in all beans and all legumes?
They are in every legume to varying degrees. They're called galacto-oligosaccharides.
Right.
And they are in every bean to a lesser extent in these the tiny little yellow beans I just showed you, but they are still present. and they are actually very, very important for our gut bacteria. It literally, they nourish our gut.
Right.
You
So
know?
are you saying the mung green has the greatest potential or content of that compared to other beans?
Of the mung, that which has the skin has the greatest nourishment for the bacteria. However, the yellow do too, but remember the goal of Kitchery is a healing food, right? And so when you're cleansing, when you're healing, you want that which is easiest to digest, because you want to use the body's energy reserves for healing rather than only for digesting. And
Right, that's very clear. That's very clear. My question though is, which is the mung the highest of legumes, or just higher than the other lentils?
The bigger legumes, something like a pinto bean, you
Okay.
know, something like a kidney bean, which has a greater amount of skin on it, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Anything else?
Is there any advantage to using whole on a nutritional level?
Whole bean?
Whole versus split?
Well, yeah, there is. I mean, nutritionally, again, it's going, the whole bean, this is such a great question. It really is. And I think it's so important to understand this because it can be so confusing. But the whole bean usually is going to be a little bit more gas producing, I should say, a little bit more of its oligosaccharides are going to be available to the gut microbiome, to the bacteria that are going to feast on it and burp, creating gases, but also short chain fatty acids and other chemicals that our immune systems need, right? So they're highly protective. So I say to my clients all the time, if you have no digestive issues, you know, then use the legume that has the skin, but also vary it, because every different little bean, every different change is food for a whole different bacteria that live in our gut. So we have about 38 trillion of them, and they love all different varieties of plant foods. Okay, so not just legumes, but every different kind of legume is going to be different. So the green split and the yellow split and the whole split, the whole dal, all of the black beans, the pinto beans, the black-eyed peas, everything counts as a different food for a different organism, right? So always vary it, always vary your choices. But it is a good question, and the nutrition will be available no matter what. But if you can, the whole bean soaked properly and cooked is even better. Anything else?
Nope, let's go on to the next section.
Okay, so we're going to just talk about some of the, some of the benefits here. So back here to the handout here, you're welcome. So the Kitchery is used.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Oh no, Leah, right ahead.
Alana, okay, thanks. So love the dal talk, and my question is, there has been some material on the web about legumes not being healthy for a leaky gut or something like that. So yeah. I've been to India. I've lived with people who've made dal. It's like the cat's meow. However, there is this material out about legumes not being good for a leaky gut. And I wanted to know if you could address that and what's the story? Thank you.
Right. So I'm very well aware of what you're talking about. And the reason is because they're carbohydrates, and not just any carbohydrates. They are fermentable carbohydrates, and fermentable carbohydrates, while they are beneficial food for the gut bacteria, they are also difficult to break down. And in the case of leaky gut, when the junctures of the large intestine are not as tight as they should be, that could potentially cause some problems. my answer to that is strengthen your gut first, strengthen your gut first. And I would see a practitioner about that, because there are two ways to look at this. Number one, these are healing foods that actually end up healing your gut. But number two,
the dal, right?
they are healing to the gut. And when you begin to add them, even just gradually to your diet, and you don't even have to do large amounts, just a couple of tablespoons even, they begin to feed those bacteria that strengthen your gut naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of leaky gut, if that is the real diagnosis here, then it might be more important to clear that up first, or to strengthen that first, to get yourself to a point where your symptoms are much better, and then to add very tiny amounts, like literally a teaspoon of well-cooked yellow split moong dal,
Right.
very, very well cooked, right? So you add a teaspoon every day, and believe it or not, even that tiny teaspoon is going to feed that good bacteria. And I can remember for my own self, many years ago, 20 years ago, when I was trying to heal acid reflux, I went on a very strict diet, and my microbiome became less diverse. But I was limited in what I would allow myself to eat. I didn't want heartburn. But now I can eat just about anything I want.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but that was not the case. But our gut is highly adaptable.
Yeah.
38 trillion little friends in there. They're not human, but they're our friends, and they want, right?
So what is the concern with leaky gut for
so the
the
concern
beans?
Yeah, the concern with leaky gut, with any of the excess of these hard to digest starches, is that they can not be fully broken down, and that they can actually move into the bloodstream, right? Their proteins, for example, can move into the bloodstream easily, because the integrity of the wall of the colon is not strong, right? And so that can lead to potential autoimmune problems, or rashes, or skin problems, or gut problems, etc. I followed some different gastroenterologists, and one who I love a lot. He is plant-based, and although I'm not vegetarian or vegan, he's a really good gastroenterologist, and he has questioned to an extent leaky gut and the ability to heal it, because what he is saying is that it's really just a matter of dysbiosis, and that when you can get in there and begin to heal the gut with those plant foods and those wild fermented foods, and even foods, honestly, like bone broth, that are so nourishing for us, that you can begin to strengthen the gut. And once you do that, then you can start to add back those foods that you couldn't tolerate before. Make sense there, Leah?
You said dysbiosis?
Yeah, and so it's an imbalance between pathogenic bacteria and friendly bacteria.
Okay.
And it's really a matter of changing the gut microbiome, and it's very amenable by food to change.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, good. All right. So now we will talk about, according to Ayurveda, some of the benefits here of Kitchery. So number one is that it provides clarity and lightness to the mind and body. Okay. It helps to remove excess weight and bloat. And again, it does that when you eat it, not just for one meal, but you do a little Kitchery cleanse with it. So maybe a few days. It promotes healthy bowel function and regulation. It removes heaviness from congestion of the mind and the body, because it's allowing the body more energy to remove toxins. Okay. We'll address the SIBO issue in just a moment. Courtney, remind me about that in just a moment. Thank you. It also brings energy and well-being to the mind and the body. Ayurveda loves it for this reason. It supports and strengthens the digestive fire known as Agni. So that Agni, it's very important that Agni burns very, very strongly in our body, not overly so, but just right. And by doing a Kitchery cleanse, just even a day here or there, or a few days, helps to reset that digestive fire and makes us able to digest and then process and move the nutrients better through our body. It also supports metabolism, digestion, and overall good health. And it also supports good and restful sleep, which makes sense when the body becomes less burdened with toxins. So again, a Kitchery cleanse is generally just a mono diet where you're just eating only Kitchery, but it can include medicinal herbs. I use medicinal herbs and ghee. So I have used plain ghee in here, but I'm going to show you some medicinal herbs that I keep at home. Medicinal ghee here. So these are ghees that are infused with medicinal herbs, okay? And you can use these for Kitchery as well. Triphala is known as a tonifier for the large intestine, okay? It's also used to support healthy vision. Brahmi is a brain tonic in Ayurveda, used to support good memory and restful sleep, as it says on the label. We love Brahmi. Brahmi's awesome, yeah. Arjuna and ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a very, very popular herb that is used to support the immune system. And Arjuna, of course, is for the heart, the cardiovascular system. It's used to support that. And again, ghee is the ideal carrier for these herbs. So when you're doing a Kitchery cleanse, I want to show you this, turmeric super ghee. This is a super food there. It's got the turmeric with the ghee. Okay, very anti-inflammatory. But when you use these herbal ghees, you can use them with your Kitchery. Then you're bringing the energy and the essence of the herbs into the tissue easily. And again, a good herbalist or naturopathic or Ayurvedic practitioner should know all about this too. Okay, so I also—
Alana, can I ask you a quick question about ghee?
Sure.
I love ghee and I use it all the time,
Yeah.
but it is very high in saturated fat. And recent studies have kind of demonized saturated fat. What is your take? Could you give us your opinion about ghee and saturated fat?
Yeah, well, I have to just, you always think about my grandfather who ate large amounts of butter every day, and he ate bacon and eggs for breakfast and lots of vegetables in the South, and he lived just shy of 100 years eating that way. Here's what I feel like, and that is that I whenever I see a study like that or anything that I question, I always want to know who's funding it, who's behind it, and do the authors of the study have any conflicts of interest? Because unfortunately, there's corruption in science, at times. So we have to watch out for that. People handle fats differently. For some people, saturated fats will raise your cholesterol levels. For other people, not at all. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's harmful. In other words, you can have high levels of cholesterol in your body, like my mother did. Her cholesterol levels, even she died of lung cancer, but her heart was completely clear, even though she had a cholesterol level just under 300. And this ties into something you may have heard about years ago called the French paradox, right? Where how is it possible that all these people in France eat butter and cream and pâté, on a daily basis, and they're not having the same amount of heart disease that we have here? So saturated fat, in my view, is a natural fat. It exists in nature, but should not be the only fat consumed. In other words, it makes perfectly good sense to eat some almonds or have some nuts or use some sesame oil or enjoy, an avocado. And that way you also give your body more nutrition, different variations in the fatty acids, which are natural. Coconut oil is a natural fat. I did coconut oil for years, and it brought my cholesterol up to around 300. But I had no heart problems with it, but everybody's different. My friend Julia did tons of coconut oil, and her cholesterol never goes above 180. You see, so those are genetic factors, you know.
Oh, Alana, that just brings up something for me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've asked this question from others and they can never answer it. I have a feeling you can. In terms of bioavailability with spices and fat, now it's well known that if you're going to have, moon milk, you need the turmeric, in fat with heat. My question is, does the spice have to be in the fat to make it more bioavailable, or can you have it alongside of it, meaning not heated in the fat, but nuts next to it? Or do you actually need to have it inside the fat?
So if you eat it with the fat and it's being mixed together with the fat in your stomach, which is about 100 degrees or so.
Right, but separate.
Right, but it won't be separate if you're eating it together, right?
Okay.
So it's fine. However, there are benefits of eating it with the fat if it's cooked with the fat.
That's what I thought. Okay.
In other words, it's going to be beneficial either way,
but more so if it's cooked.
Yes, because it's infusing the fat, right? And so when it's infused, even for that longer time, it's carried a little bit deeper, a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Do you know what I'm saying?
I really do. Thank you so much.
Some of these things are hard to put into words because in Western medicine and even in Western nutrition, we don't think like this. We don't think about the energetics of food because sometimes it reminds me a lot of acupuncture. The meridians are there, but you can do all the surgery you want on a human body and you're never going to find them, right? It's like these things are subtle, but they're real and they exist, And let's look here at what the Science Direct has said about the inclusion of ghee and herbs here. So it's on your handout on page 2, and it says here, ghee is an excellent anupana. This is a therapeutic vehicle for transporting the properties of herbs to the deeper tissue layers of the body. Proper digestion, absorption, and delivery to a target organ system are vitally important for obtaining the maximum benefit from any therapeutic formulation. So the lipophilic action, that's fat-soluble action, of the ghee facilitates transportation to the target organ and final delivery inside the cell via the cell membrane, which is also a fat, a lipid, okay? A research study compared different forms of herbs and herbal extracts and found that ghee improved the efficacy of the formulation compared to usage in powder or tablet form. This is not the only study, but this is a really easy one to understand. It was published by Science Direct, and it was in Food and Nutrition Research, Advances in Food and Nutrition Research. So that about says it all, right there, of why it's important and why in India, people melt ghee in a skillet and they put the spices in with the ghee right there, and cook the ghee into cook the spices into the ghee, right? Also important. So actually, let's go ahead right now and begin making our jeera rice. And then as that's cooking, we can talk a little bit more about the doshas. Everybody good with that?
Yep. Thank you, Elena. Right. Thanks for answering the ghee question.
Oh, welcome. I'm absolutely. And if there's something I can't ask, we'll answer. We'll just ask Courtney. All right.
Hey, Alana.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing rice. Just want to give you a time update. It's 12:54. As a reminder, this class is going until 1:30.
Perfect. Yep. And we're good because this is going to cook in about 20 minutes time.
Okay, perfect.
So there we go. I'm just going to turn the heat on here. And I'm going to add here some ghee to my pan. my pot here. Got a tablespoon of ghee. This is enough to cook 1 cup of rice in here. And this rice is going to be spiced with cumin seed, which is wonderful, bay leaf and cardamom. So I'm going to let that ghee get nice and hot. Can you see okay, Courtney? Does that look good? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can see into the pan.
Just want to make sure. Okay, so we're going to let that ghee get
Good.
good and hot. And this will make enough for 4 to 6 servings. Okay, and I've got here some of the cumin seed right there and some cardamom. And I'm going to use an Indian bay leaf while it cooks right there. These bay leaves are larger than regular bay leaves we're used to seeing. They're wonderful. This is heats up. There we go. And I've got 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. And once this gets hot, I want it to be nice and hot, but I don't want it to be smoking. I can kind of hear it in there. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to throw the bay leaf in there. And I'm just going to start stirring it around till it gets.
Oh, sorry. Can you speak to that bay leaf, why it's different than the typical ones?
That I don't know. I just know that the Indian bay leaves are larger. Courtney, do you know why that might be?
Okay, so the Indian bay leaf is actually not the same as what we typically think of a bay leaf that's used in French cooking. The bay leaf in French cooking is like, it's a bay laurel leaf. This is a cassia leaf, which is from the cassia tree. And people may be familiar with cassia because there's a form of cinnamon, which is cassia cinnamon, which has the thick bark and it's like one roll. The Ceylon cinnamon is the one where the bark is thinner and it's like multiple layers to the roll.
Can I ask a question? This is Susan. I use curry leaves, which I know are not from curry spice, but a tree. Would that substitute for the cassia?
Is a totally different flavor, but would be equally delicious. So you could use it, sure.
So now I've just added the rice and I'm stirring it around in the ghee. Okay, just very good. So I'm also going to add to this some salt. Okay, I'm going to put some Himalayan pink salt, which is my very favorite, in there. About a ½ teaspoon is just about right. And then I'm just going to add my water and it should bring it up to heat pretty quickly. There we go. All right, I'm gonna kind of get out of the way. There you go. Perfect. All right, and I'm gonna get this, bring it up to a nice boil, and then we're gonna simmer it. It's gonna simmer, and it should be done in about 20 minutes. So there you go. Can you all see that okay? All right, so this is actually one of my very favorite ways to enjoy rice. When I lived in India, the family that I would stay with sometimes in Mumbai, which was Bombay at that time, they would often put a cinnamon stick as well as cardamom pods in with their jeera rice. I've got some cardamom in here, but you can do that as well. You can also do garlic ghee if you love the flavor of garlic. Some people will like to cook the rice and put the ghee on afterwards, which is also wonderful. Cultured ghee is excellent if you are trying to get away from dairy products, because the cultured ghee is batch tested and virtually has no casein and lactose left in it. Tiny. I mean, what is the, Courtney, you know the amounts, but it's considered dairyless. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we do. We have it third-party tested every batch for our consumers that are sensitive and have allergies. That's why we do it, for people that have those allergies and sensitivities. It is not entirely free from casein and lactose. Sorry, my brain just blinked. I'm looking at the chat and trying to keep up with that too. But it's considered like lactose free and casein free as per like what usually triggers people and government guidelines. But we do put exactly what we tested at so that people are aware. But it's considered like allergy safe.
I use your cultured ghee. It's fantastic.
Isn't it delicious?
I agree. It's so buttery.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So just letting this come up to a boil here. before I put a lid on it. This is good. Now, sometimes, you know, another thing you can do with this, which is also delicious that I have done, is you can add some whole coriander seeds to the cumin and you can cook it like that. And again, you really don't need to cook it but about 30 seconds to a minute, just till they begin to kind of pop, sizzle, and brown a little bit. And then they'll cook into the rice as it's cooking, which is just perfect. So this is just about right. So I think in another few seconds, we'll put the lid on this. I'm a huge fan of the Pure Indian Foods garlic ghee. I think it's amazing. If you like the flavor of garlic, it's incredibly delicious. So I'll often do that as well. You can also put just a pinch of hing into this for that subtle garlicky or oniony flavor too. So, okay, I'm gonna put this down now onto low, put a lid on that and let that cook and come back and check on that. All right, I'm gonna time this for 20 minutes. There we go. And that should be just fine. Okay, and pull you back over here and we're going to talk a little bit more now about the doshas. Hello again. All right, so ready to move on to talking about doshas. So the doshas in Ayurvedic medicine are the different body types, and it's actually fascinating to learn about them. But just really quick, if you go to, let's see, what page do we want you to be on? Page 3 here, okay? So this is where we'll talk about the doshas on page 3, if you can see that. Okay, so Vatadosha is the dosha that governs motion. And you can kind of tell a Vata person when you look at them because they tend to be very thin, you know, very slender. Sometimes they're light in mind. They are dry. I mean, their skin can be dry. They're often cool when you touch their hands. Their feet are cold a lot. They tend to gravitate towards schedules that are kind of irregular, you know, not regular sleeping habits, not regular eating habits, things like that. And it kind of brings them out of balance, right? So they're cold or cool, they're light, they're dry, they're irregular, they're rough, you know, and mobile. So they're very quick thinkers, very, very intelligent. The balancing taste for this is the sweet, salty, and sour taste, okay? So Vata dosha can benefit from kitchery made with lots of ghee, so that Vata dosha really needs those fats. They're grounding, stabilizing, right? And the saturated fats can be very warming, and that's important. Also, cooked vegetables. So if someone is cold or cool, you want to do the opposite and bring warmth into their body, right? So always more of the cooked fruits, baked apples and pears with cinnamon and ginger, for example, versus cold and raw, right? Hot tea, say, instead of ice water, or smoothies would not be ideal for that Vata dosha, but eggs and toast or mashed tofu cooked in ghee, that would be better, right? Toast, wheat toast or rice toast with butter or ghee, nut butters, balancing for a dosha. Avocados. Now, why the sour for the Vata dosha? Why does that balance the Vata dosha? Vata dosha loves the sour flavor. And one of the reasons is because the sour flavor stimulates the digestive acids or that agni. So it helps them to digest their food better. And that is important for the Vata dosha, okay? So, you know, vinegar, tomatoes, sour fruits, yogurt, things like that, sauerkraut are often not recommended for the Pitta dosha because they say, oh, I can't eat the cooked tomatoes and all that vinegar, I get heartburn, right? It increases the digestive fire, but that's not typically the case with the Vata dosha. Now we can have more than one dominant dosha, but whichever one is most predominant is what I'm talking about right here. Now the Pitta dosha, let me just make sure this is looking, yes, it's good. The Pitta dosha is the fire dosha. So you can look at me, my hair, blonde, my eyes are green, Pitta dosha. You can see the freckles on my old face here. So that tells you Pitta dosha. It is my primary dosha, but not my only dosha, right? So Pitta dosha governs digestion. The nature is bright, intense, sharp, acidic, hot, and fiery. The tastes that balance this dosha are sweet, bitter, and astringent. So Pitta dosha benefits from kitchery with plenty of ghee, cooked broccoli, cauliflower, leafy greens, raw cucumbers, carrots, fennel, avocado, cilantro. These things help to cool that fiery nature, right? And a small amount of lime is fine. And for that Pitta dosha, lime is better than lemon, actually, because lime is sweeter, a little bit less sour than lemon, okay? Sour citrus juices like cooked tomatoes and vinegar and strongly fermented or older yogurt can really upset Pitta dosha, cause a lot of heartburn, indigestion, and just not feeling good. Can cause a sour stomach and a sour attitude with Pitta people, okay? Now the next dosha is Kappa dosha, and Kappa governs structure, okay? So the nature of Kappa is solid, heavy, cold, damp, and sluggish. So Kappa dosha people tend to put weight on easily, okay? They are balanced by the bitter taste, the pungent taste, and the astringent taste. So Kappa dosha can benefit from kitchery prepared with a small amount of ghee, right? Plenty of ginger and other spices, including hot spices, which help to stimulate their metabolism. And a little bit of salt, but not too much salt, okay? And then cooked bitter greens, asparagus, carrots, okra, broccoli, all of these kinds of things. In general, the Kappa dosha benefits from most every vegetable, except for the really watery vegetables like the yellow squash, the zucchini, you know, tomatoes. Yes, you certainly can. Yeah. You can add the tomatoes to the kitchery for sure. Now, if you're Pitta dosha, the raw tomatoes are generally easier than the cooked tomatoes, which for many people become a little bit more acidic, right? Okay, so how I want you to kind of think about this is, you know, and this is so classic with other systems of healing like Ayurveda, like Chinese medicine, when they're thinking of the energetics of food, think of yourself as having an internal weather system that belongs to you. Okay, so some of us are hot and damp, some of us are cold and damp on the inside. Our sinuses are dripping a lot. We have joint pains from arthritis. We're overweight. This is dampness in Chinese medicine and Kappa in Ayurveda. Some of us are dry and windy. We're gassy. Our skin is dry. You know, foods tend to make gas in our system rather than digesting really easily. So we have our own internal weather pattern, right? So a good example of that would be somebody who's cold a lot. You know, I've seen this so many times in my classes and with my individual clients. They're cold. They're eating a really healthy diet. You know, lots of salads, lots of fresh fruits, smoothies in the morning. They're cold a lot. Maybe they even have low blood pressure. Sometimes they're overweight, but they don't feel great, okay? So remember, Ayurveda teaches us we need the opposite of whatever the dosha is, the imbalance is. So if we're cold and damp on the inside, we need warming and drying. So the Kappa dosha would benefit from lots of green and all different colors, well, green vegetables in particular, but all different colored vegetables, especially the vegetables that are tending to be dry. So like, for example, potato or the legumes, which are starchy, right? They're ideal. If you cook a bean or a pea and you smash it open, let's say you've got a black bean in your hand, in your finger, and it's well cooked, smash it open. It's dry and starchy in the inside, isn't it? It's going to be that way in the inside of your body. So that's ideal for Kappa, okay? Pitta, being oily, doesn't do well with very many oils, but with ghee, it's cooling and nourishing, and ghee helps to put out the excess digestive fire and regulate it. Vatadosha also needs ghee because it's grounding. Vata, unlike Pitta and Kapha, can eat a lot more oils in more generous amounts, okay? But again, you have to recognize that we are combinations of these three doshas. So all of us have typically all three. One of us, and some of us are predominantly one or two. My predominant dosha is Pitta, but I also have a good amount of Kapha in here. So I can't, I love milk, but I can't just take a cup of cold milk and drink it because it will create excess Kapha or sinus congestion for me. Same thing with yogurt and sour foods. I can eat them to a tiny amount, but I can't eat a lot of sour foods. They disrupt me. They don't feel right. If I drink, hot lemon water in the morning, my stomach doesn't feel right. If I drink hot green tea in the morning, I'm perfect. So ask yourself, what is my imbalance, and how can I do the opposite of that? So that is very important when it comes to understanding Ayurveda, So I also want to touch here on premium basmati rice and why we're using this. The aging, I'm going to show it to you here too. The aging rice produces an amazing high quality rice that is so good. Aging it for like 2 years or longer means that the grain elongates as it dries out and it takes on just like a slightly golden hue. Uh-oh, can you see me here? Which is really awesome. Can you see that? It's just beautiful. So it gets really long and tapered at the end. And one of the beauties of aging rice, where it becomes really premium like this, is when it cooks up, it cooks separately and the grains don't come together. It's nothing like sticky rice at all. And in India, they tend to like their rice to be very separate, whereas in Japan, it's kind of clumped all together, So the aging process concentrates the flavor and it assures that the rice is completely dry, okay? So it cooks up perfectly. We typically say 1 cup of rice, of aged rice, to 2 cups of water is ideal, but you can, that can vary depending on your cooking method and whether or not you soak the rice before you cook it. Again, with rice, it can be trial and error. Let me show you. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Can you see that right there? And it is premium aged rice. It's aged longer than 2 years, actually. And it's just awesome. There you go. So, yeah, and okay. What was that last question? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Courtney, can you tell me if there was a question there?
There's 2 questions. I don't know if you answered this because I was replying to Sandeep actually. Gigi said how to deal with pretty much the same 2 doshas. Like me, Vata, Pitta, what's good for one is not good for the other. It's very confusing.
Right. So you have to go by what the major imbalance is, right? What your major imbalance is. And sometimes, and this is an interesting point of Ayurveda, is sometimes if you have a Pitta imbalance or a Kapha imbalance, sometimes the way you treat it is actually by nourishing Vatadosha, which is the elemental dosha or the most primary dosha of all. So really, I would say the most important thing though is that you ask yourself, okay, what are my symptoms? So let's just as an example say, well, I'm just, I'm always, I wake up in the morning and I'm just always, feel my sinuses are full. I often have a sinus headache when I wake up. What is going on? I just feel bloated and I'm not losing weight. Well, that doesn't make any sense because I'm Pitta dosha. What's going on? Well, okay, so what you're going to do then is treat the Kappa dosha, but you're going to avoid the Kappa stimulating foods that aggravate Pitta. So for somebody like me, that would be a lot of the hot spices, right? So instead, I would find the common foods and spices that are common and nourishing to both doshas and avoid the things or use tinier amounts of those spices or foods that tend to aggravate the primary dosha, okay? So does that kind of make sense? So for example, let's take me again as a pitta kapha. So maybe, you know, I'm got a sinus problem, which I don't, but if I did, like I said, I've just been drinking cold milk every day for a while. Now I'm going to have to heal that, but I can't just take a bunch of, you know, cayenne pepper and all of these kinds of things to do that. No, what I can do is a little bit of curry powder with a tiny amount of cayenne, or better for me, Kashmiri red chili, which is a little bit hotter than paprika, but not so hot that it's going to upset my pitta balance, right? And so I'll use that instead. And I'll just get a list of the different foods that are right for each dosha, that pacify each dosha. Those lists are available online. And then you say, okay, what is common that's good for both kapha and pitta? And those are the foods that I will target the most. Does that answer your question? Does that help? Thank you. Okay. You're welcome. Yeah. So I've given you a lot here for you to go over. You know, I'm going to serve this up for you now. We've got about 15 minutes. This is going to be ready in less than 5 minutes. It's looking good, but I'm going to show you, we've got the Kitchery cooking in the rice cooker, and it's cooked already. I'm sorry, in the Instant Pot pressure cooker. It's already cooked. It's just now slowly releasing itself, and it will be finished in just a few minutes. Let me show you what I've prepared to top our kitchery with. So this is a summertime kitchery. I've got fresh, ripe tomatoes, which, by the way, ripe tomatoes on the vine that are fresh and vine ripened are way better for pitta dosha because they're sweet. Okay, they're not nearly as acidic. So green tomatoes, tomatoes that were cooked before they were ripened, not good for pitta dosha. Okay, so I've got cucumber, cilantro, and I've got some tomato in here as well. And I have also put a squeeze, it's a little bit of lime in there, and I'm going to put a little bit more on the kitchery. And I'm going to top that off with some roasted pumpkin seeds. I put some spices on pumpkin seeds and roasted them. So let me start right now by pulling our cooked Moong Dal kitchery. This is the green kitchery here. So we've got that. This is what it's going to look like. It's nice and smashed up. It smells good too. So you're just going to put this. Let me get this bowl here. There we go. I'm going to put this in here. So get there. There you go. Put this in here. So there. And then we're just going to take some, I'm going to squeeze a little bit of lime on it right here. That's a little bit of the juice. There you go.
Hey, Alana, quick question. Is it okay to eat leftover kitchery, or does it have to be made fresh every day?
It's better if you can make it fresh every day, but to eat it one time leftover, if time doesn't permit, is fine. But it is very important in Ayurveda not to eat a lot of leftovers, that the food has more prana when it's cooked fresh, or at least not to heat it again more than once.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to also add some fresh avocado to this too. So I like to just do it this way. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put some topping on here. Make sure you can see that. There you go, like that. I'll put that so pretty on there. Good. And I'm going to put now some avocado on here. This avocado is so cooling. So I'm just going to put that out like that. Get that spread around. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to put some pumpkin seeds over the top.
You're making all of us hungry.
There's one kitchery right there. How's that?
That's gorgeous.
Good. All right, now let's see how we're doing here. This is let's see, this is ready. So I take the lid off of this one. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. I'm gonna just actually get this so you can see this too on the inside here. So let's pull this around. There you go. There, like this. Okay. Make sure you can kind of see this, because I want you to see what it's like when I stir it here. Okay, can you see that now? Okay, so good. So I'm just gonna grab this and stir this. Oh my gosh, and this is so creamy and golden and gorgeous. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, shame on me, saffron is so good in this too. And it adds even more beautiful golden orange hue. Okay, so this is nice and mushy, and you can see the difference in the consistency of these. One is stovetop, the other is you can see that, just like porridge. This is literally melded together, but again, it doesn't have the skins on it. I prefer this method in the Instant Pot or the pressure cooker. And let me just look at this rice really quick, you guys. 1 second, and I'm going to show you this, make sure this is also gorgeous and perfect. Okay, I'll turn that off. And there. Now I'm going to plate this up for you too. So now we've got this beautiful golden kitchery here. Oh my gosh. If you were all here, I would feed you happily. Okay. This is beautiful, and it's so nourishing. You know, there's something so comforting about kitchery. It's hard to describe, but it does foster just a feeling of well-being, without a doubt. Okay, I think that's fine.
I always compare kitchery to like Indian chicken noodle soup.
It really is. It
Like
so is.
comfort food.
It's very much like Indian chicken soup. Totally. Yes. Okay, so now I'm going to decorate the top of this as well. So
I just want to add that all these toppings and mix-ins are optional. You can eat it totally plain, or you can put in anything at your own discretion, like whatever you want to add.
so true. Okay, there you go. And I'm going to put in some avocado into this one as well. And use a little lime around the side. That's good. There you go. Get that broken up in there. Perfect. A little squeeze of lime is fine. There. And some pumpkin seeds over the top. And there's that one as well. And now I'm going to plate up that basmati rice. You've got to see that too. It's gorgeous. All right, here it comes. So put that there. Let me get a fork and just kind of fluff that. You'll see how this cooks. So I'm going to remove the bay leaves now. There you go. There. And I will leave the, oh, see how it's so long. I mean, can you see? It's like some of these look a good inch long, these beautiful grains of rice. It's incredibly fragrant, just gorgeous. Now, how I would do this, my favorite way of this, and you can put some lime on this as well if you want to, which would be fantastic. What I'm going to do is plate this up like this. There you go. It's beautiful rice. It's so, oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. All right, now I'm going to put that down here so you can see that. And this needs a little bit of extra ghee to melt all over the top. It's just so good.
I wish we had smell-o-vision right now.
I've never heard that. Hilarious. There you go. So now you have that. So let me get you guys, you can see everything together here. Want to make sure you can see all of our foods that we did. So we've got all three of those. Can you see that okay or not? And everybody, is it all in there together? Let's see if maybe, is it better if I turn it this way?
Oh,
is that better, Courtney, or the other way?
We could see it the other way too.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go back then. There you go. Okay, so that's Kitchery for you. So I think we have like 5 more minutes to open up the floor and take any other questions or comments if anybody has anything to say. I hope you'll try these recipes.
Are you to eat them both together, or you you just do the kitchery and then do the other rice?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I'm gonna eat half of each one.
Kitchery is a meal all on its own. So if you were just making this at home, I mean, kitchery is very filling. I can only eat like a very tiny bowl at a time.
Yeah.
You would cook the rice and eat it alongside something else, a vegetable or a curry.
Yeah. A curry would be great, a vegetable. Yeah. So, you know, the other thing too is, especially particularly for Vatadosha, you know, if you're not vegetarian, you could certainly eat like a boiled egg, a pasture raised egg would be fine with the kitchery as well. The kitchery can be cooked in water, of course, but also in vegetable broth or in bone broth if you're doing that as well. So there are really no hard and fast rules other than the turmeric, the good salt, the ghee, right? So that's it. I think I saw a question a minute ago about Ayurvedic jaggery in the chat.
Oh yeah. Radhika was just asking if we sell it pre-grated or in the slab. I answered her. It's okay.
Wow.
Yeah, just in the slab.
Yeah.
Oh, Jen says, would it be better to try leaving in the fridge? Oh, I think she's asking about seeds. I'm checking the chat here.
Alana, just one question. Which of the herbal ghees is your favorite and why?
Which is my favorite herbal ghee and why? Oh my gosh, I love them all. I think, you know, I think as an all-around tonic, it's the ashwagandha ghee. But there have been times when I've turned to Brahmi ghee because I felt like it's been just a really nice kind of calming for the nervous system kind of ghee. The turmeric super ghee I use a lot just in regular cooking, just because it's like everyday kind of thing, you know. The Arjuna ghee I love, but I think all in all, I would have to say it's the ashwagandha ghee and the Brahmi ghee are my very favorites for me. But that's different for everybody, right? So it could be something different for you. You know, the flavors of the herbs come through, but not too strong. They're really well infused, but they're beautiful in there. I like a lot of the spiced ghees, the garlic ghee, oh my gosh, I mean, there's so many. Herbs de Provence is excellent. The nitro kibi is amazing. So they're all just so good. Ghee is the one food that actually is like one of the best things on the planet. Obviously, you can't live on ghee alone. You have to have something else with it, but it is very interesting, and it balances all 3 doshas. It's needed less by Kappa Dosha, tiny amounts, but in a small amount, it can also bring balance to Kappa Dosha, and it can help to do that by regulating Agni. So
thank you. Thank
so
you,
much.
Alana. That was a wonderful, really enthusiastic, amazing presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to say thank you to Denise from Toronto. You know, Alana, I never realized that food has energy, and that you've just brought me up to a new awareness of when I cook, you know, to pay attention to that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. Yes, it's important.
And is it important? Yes, and is it important to have organic ghee, or can you just buy ghee from, you know, the department store, the grocery store?
I'm not in favor of that, and I'll tell you why. And this has been the case since I was a kid in India. You know, the non-organic ghee, you don't want. Ghee is so pure that organic is always better. You don't want any chemical residues in there, and if it's grass-fed, it's even better because the cows are eating their natural diet. You know, in Pure Indian Foods, they've been making ghee since like 1889 when my grandfather was born. Remember, I told you he lived a century. And they do it according to the time of Ayurveda, when the moon is at the particular right time for making ghee, a certain time. I think it's like the full moon. And this is a really important thing, you know, for how the ghee is utilized in the body. Again, it takes into consciousness the energy of something, you know. So I would say the organic and grass-fed is always better, because you don't have to worry about you know, RBST, which is a recombinant bovine growth hormone. You know, you don't have to worry about anything like that, any impurities or chemicals in the ghee. It's a good question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for your commitment to bringing us, you know, the wholeness and wellness. We need it so much during these days. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to you all.
Thank you. It was very, very good. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. We really
Very,
appreciate.
very impressive. I was really pleased.
Oh, thank you. God, you guys.
And
I love you.
actually, back to the ghee, I actually coach people with food and cooking, and I
Good.
never recommend a product ever, but I insist on this brand. for
Oh,
ghee. No, I'm serious. I don't recommend brands, and this one I insist upon.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
Even the Pure Indian spices, even comparing the Pure Indian Food spices compared to an organic, the same that I could go to Whole Foods and buy, it's so different. Everything is more vibrant, more alive. It's more energetic. And it's so hard to explain it. You can see it and feel it and taste it. It's really true. It's amazing what Sandeep and Nalini have done. It's just absolutely amazing to me. You know, it's a commitment, but it's also more than that. It's a genuine love of nature. That's what it is. It's a love of nature and an understanding at a deeper level of the connection between the human being and nature and how they're intertwined. It's amazing.
I just want to add that Sandeep sources all of our products. And for the spices, he travels to India and literally just goes off the grid. And then when he comes back to the internet, we're like, oh, hey, did you find anything? He's like, I went up into the mountains. I found this group of people. It's so pristine. It's so pure. They haven't been in touch with like people from the city in forever. And I talked to them and I got this arrangement. And now we have ghost pepper, you know? So he like goes on these crazy adventures to bring all this back for us. And that's why it's like such a high quality product. And as the staff, we get to enjoy it too. So we enjoy it a lot.
It's so much more than it's his passion.
Yeah.
He's an herbalist.
He's an herbalist. And then he tries to connect people.
Yeah.
Which we love.
Which is awesome. True.
Yep. So we are at the end. We're 2 minutes past. If anybody has any other questions, last call for questions, and we're going to close the meeting.
Thanks, Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you guys for all your nice comments. We're reading them, and it's just wonderful.
You guys are amazing. Joyce.
Oh, so nice to see your face.
Thank you. Can't wait for the next one.
Oh, awesome.
We're hoping to do like one a month in the future.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
God bless you.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you. And same to you. Thank you for coming in.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Stay happy and healthy, everyone.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to close the meeting.
Okay,
Bye.
Courtney.
All right.
Bye-bye.